Hey, this is Doug Ide from Guide Fishing, here today with Brad Mikrut from Lakeside Bait and Tackle.
Hey, what's going on?
We're going to try our first podcast, so hopefully we don't do too horrible and nobody's suicidal after they hear us. What's going on, Brad?
Not much. How's the fishing been, Doug?
Oh, which lake you want to talk about?
Well, we could start on Delavan.
Oof. I'll tell you the same thing I've been telling my customers, and I know this sounds bad. Delavan has been a grind. It is just, you know how at end of September we get starting to change in the water temperatures, and Delavan gets a little bit tough. She just hasn't came out of that cycle yet.
Yeah. Should be turning over pretty soon. Fishing should get hot.
I would think, give it 2 more weeks. I think this warm front really will throw her off. In another 2 weeks, I think we'd be back out there getting walleyes again in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
The other day when I was out, we got some little perch, and literally, I'd had 2 hours into it to get a dozen little perch.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a grind. I know Dewey's got a few game fish. I know Steve Everett's actually doing pretty good on the game fish, but for Steve to get 10 game fish in a trip is slow for him.
Sure.
I just don't hear of anybody doing great things out there, but this time of year, this happens to Delavan for a few weeks. It's part of reality.
Right.
We've been mostly focusing on Geneva and Pewaukee. My Geneva smallmouth bite has been great. 22, 26 feet of water, extra large fat heads right off the bottom have been lights out for us.
Nice. You been using any plastics or anything?
For largemouth, yes, but we're doing good on the largemouth. We're just not doing great. I've had hours where we've brought 10 to the boat, and I've had hours where we've brought 2 to the boat.
Wow.
They just have not been consistent. But again, we're just starting to go through that pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Crappies, I can't tell you because I haven't chased them. It's hard for me to go chase crappies when I'm not getting that many calls for them, and we're still nailing those monster seeds and those monster gills.
Yeah, that's always fun, getting into them big pumpkin seeds.
With the colder water temperature you have now, for them they come off a lot of fish come off the edges and they get into the weeds. So say you were fishing them in 28 feet of water 2 weeks ago, right on the edge of the weeds. Last week we had the 47-degree nights come up into 26 feet. They're right on the edge again. You get a little bit colder, they come in a little bit closer. Your largemouth now, when you get these colder nights, they start pushing them panfish shallow.
Sure.
So you'd start fishing your largemouth a lot shallower than you would. Smallmouth, like I said, that 20-foot mark's been pretty good. What I have noticed, if you're catching a lot of little perch, get deeper and get out of them, and then there's your smallmouth and occasional rock bass mixed in.
Sure.
But your pike are still deep.
Really?
Yeah, because when we're running our muskies, we're running them 18, 20 feet of water right now.
Okay.
When I'm trolling them, we're hitting a lot of pike. And that's this time of year, usually our pike are more shallow and into the weed beds, and they haven't been, which, I might almost have 300 paying trips this year, but I do realize every time I go fish, I find out I'm dumber than I thought I was. Most of the time it works out, how you think it's going to. You get in a boat, you have this in your head, this is what you're doing, this is what you've been doing, it's going to work, it's going to pay out. You might have to work at it. The last week, some things have been a little bit different for us. But again, it's all seasonal patterning.
Sure.
It's just what pattern are you in today for this time of year, and this is the pattern that you should be in, but you're not.
Sure. You've been going after the muskies out there on Geneva pretty heavy.
Yeah, well, we're getting to be that time of year. The water gets into the lower 60s. I'd really like to see it at 55, 57-degree mark. But they start to come up a little bit, too. So we've been nonstop. It's every phone call for the last week has been muskie or walleyes at night. I'm not the biggest nighttime walleye guy. Not that I can't do it. It screws my day up the next day, being up all night. Well, and anybody that works for a living or anybody that wakes up at 5 o'clock every morning understands you start screwing
it's tough.
Yeah, mess your days and nights up, and it getting a little bit older, it takes me a minute to recover.
Sure. You've been chucking baits?
For muskies?
Hard baits for the muskies then, or you?
Actually, we've been trolling. It depends on the customer I have. Some can throw, some cannot. Lately, what I've found out is covering ground has been my payoff. The other day, we covered ground for 4.5 hours and didn't do nothing. Week before that, me and Robert Jarvis covered ground for 20 minutes and we popped a little 30-incher. One of my customers and I, 5th cast, and I laid into one.
Nice.
So, but then I also, with that being said, I've also had trips where we've thrown for 6 hours. I just don't think Geneva's per se ready. The fish are still a little bit deep, so you're covering a lot of ground, and you're trying to run a lot of different presentations. We get that water temperature a little bit colder, and they start coming up a little bit shallower for us. And I'm not covering that 26 to 12 feet of water, you know, and I get the boat in 15 feet of water where we're casting in the 9 and 12. You know, get the fish a little bit more isolated for us. I think our success rate will go back up. And it always does every year. It's the same thing as we haven't chased muskies since spring. Because once that water gets up, temperature gets up there, it's hard on them fish, so we stay away from them. My customers, including myself, have the same mentality. Water's getting cold, let's go. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what we're doing. We're going, and I do know we just need a little bit colder water temp to get them to produce a little better. Now, I did notice in your store, you guys have a muskie shelf now.
We do.
You're starting to carry some of the Chaos Tackle line.
Yeah, those are some pretty phenomenal baits. They're pretty nice.
Not to give a lot away, his Poseidon is my number one go-to.
Nice.
Especially for Geneva. I'm still throwing a lot of bucktails and spinners out on Pewaukee, but Geneva Poseidon is where it's at. I love Rick's Poseidon.
What colors are you running?
Come on, no. Just so you know, we get $375 for 6 hours to be in my boat to throw for muskies. I'll take check, cash, PayPal. I don't care. So, but yeah, his. I have noticed there's a huge difference between his 12-inch Poseidon and his 10-inch Poseidon too. 10-inch sure throws a lot easier when you start getting older.
Oh, I believe it.
It's that little
take a few ounces off.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. You know, you go home and you can't move your neck, and you're like, "What was I thinking?"
Sure.
But then the problem is the next morning I won't be able to move, and I'll do the same thing. Where's the biggest one I got? You know?
Yeah.
5 minutes in, I'm like, "Oh boy, what was I thinking?" But I'm too stupid to stop, so I'm gonna call it what it is.
Yeah, got to keep going.
But yeah, we're winding up to have a good fall. I just think we need to get through this little bit of worm front we have here, and I truly believe in my heart, Delavan, by the end of next week, will be turned back on. I do believe Geneva's going through its changes right now, and towards the end of next week, that'll start to turn back on.
Sure.
We're still booked out almost every weekend for the rest of the month. I do have days open next week, but other than that, I mean, we're pretty booked. But
nice. Yeah, you've had a pretty busy season this year. You've
been a lot
all
of it
over the place.
with this virus. We started running a middle of the day trip. So on normal trips were 6 hour trips. Normal trips were 4 hour trips. So we've been doing the 6 to 10, which turns into 10:30. We've had a lot of new customers, never fished, never been on the water, never done this. So we're running them from 11 to 3. And what we're doing is we're putting them out over the panfish in 26, 28 feet of water right over the side of the boat. Trying to get somebody to cast and throw a drop shot or throw this is a little bit difficult. Get them over the side of the boat, get them to start feeling what the bite is. And it's constant action for them.
Nice.
And it's really helped get people excited and turning them on to what we do. And that's being able to do that is huge.
Yeah. It's always fun just going after bluegills and pumpkin seeds, especially on Geneva. The quality of the gills and pumpkin seeds are just out of this world.
Well, what's been amazing for me is I've had so many people in that boat this year that have never done it. Or, you know, hey, I fished once, or I fished this one time with my uncle or my grandpa. And we've had more families. If you've seen our Facebook page, I have posted mom, dad, the 2 kids, dad, 2 kids, mom, 2 kids. Mm-hmm. Well, that's one thing we've really noticed this year. Bobby that guides with me has noticed the same thing. We've had more, on our middle of the day trips, we've actually had more mom and kids than I would say just dad and kids this year.
Really?
That's getting to be pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is. It's definitely becoming more of a diverse sport, and we couldn't ask for more. A lot of it, you know, being in southeast Wisconsin, 70% of our market comes from northern Illinois. Northern Illinois is a little bit more shut down than we are. They have nothing to do. You know, hey, let's go try this. Let's go try that. Just like with, I've told a lot of people, well, you've heard me call you repeatedly. You rent canoes for $25 for the day.
Yep.
You go to Lakeside Bait and Tackle. It's you and your 2 kids, or it's you, your husband, your 2 kids, whatever. There's 4 of you. So for $50. And what I've told people is, you know, launch at the bait store, and you go all the way up that Jackson Creek to the road, and you come back. Takes you about 4 or 5 hours. Where in the world can you get 4 or 5 hours with your family and only spend $25 a canoe or $50 a canoe?
Sure.
I mean, a movie
And
theater.
it's pretty scenic back there in that channel. It's a lot of wildlife and everything. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, everybody that I've talked to that's done it has been completely happy with you.
Yeah.
And you take your family for a movie, you've spent that 2 hours.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, movie for $4 plus popcorn and everything else, you're out $75.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst part is, what if you didn't like the movie? You still got to pay it.
Right.
That's the tough part.
Yeah.
But no, I've had more and more people doing that. This year I've noticed it's been more and more family activities, more and more families in our boat. And that's a total blessing. You get these kids in my boat that have never done this. Now they're excited. You did good when 4.5 hours is up and I got to get out of here because I got to get my next trip. And the kids are arguing with the parents. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Mm-hmm. That's when you know you've done good. If I could keep your kids' attention for 4 hours, 4.5 hours, I know I did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah. And I've noticed that too. We've had a lot of families coming to the shop this year and never fished before, help them get set up with the right tackle and bait and everything, and either going out on a boat or the canoe or something like that, or just fishing offshore, and they have a blast. And a lot of new families that have never really fished and enjoyed the lakes before out there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think Jay at Williams Bay told me July 1st they had doubled the amount of launches that they had last year.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's definitely been a lot of boat traffic. The good thing now is everybody's back to doing whatever they do, which isn't completely on the lake.
Yeah, Delavan's been pretty calm the last couple of weeks. I know we had some bad weather last week, but most of the time you can still park in the gravel at the launch.
On Geneva, I mean, literally 3 weeks ago, you could walk across the boats, and now it's just been a difference of night and day.
Yeah.
And that's nice. I mean, I do want everybody to get out. I do want everybody to enjoy it. But it is nice to get out there and, don't have your head on a swivel looking at all the boats around you and making sure, okay, these guys are paying attention and everything.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about all the big waves and everything, and just with all that boat traffic, it's crazy at times.
Oh, my back appreciates it. my back completely appreciates it.
Yeah.
That not getting thrown around in that boat for 12, 13 hours a day has been that's been a godsend the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But now, even this week, between yesterday and today, which I'm already booked out this weekend, I've had 4 calls for this weekend.
Oh, wow.
On top of what I already have, and today's Wednesday. Actually, I had a call this morning for tomorrow. What do you want me to do about that? I'm already booked out. But we're still taking just phenomenal amounts of calls. So people still want to get out. And it is pretty nice out. I'll give everybody that. Another week, I think we'll get more of them diehard people, which that's just part of it, Do believe probably November 15th, December 30th. Or I'm sorry, November 15th, November 30th. I'm going to end my season and put the boat on the market. Well, I sell my boat every year.
Mm-hmm.
March 1, we're always, Jerry Sports and Beloit always puts us in a new one. But
sure,
I'm ready.
Yeah. I bet. After running 300 trips this season.
Yeah, we've done, that's not just me. I've had Bobby help me.
Sure.
Bobby Biaginski, you know him. He runs how many trips with us. We work together. Jason Drew has helped us. Steve Everett has helped us. Dave Dewey's helped us. And it's not that they've helped us. We've helped them. It goes back and forth between us all the time. Billy's helped us. For the most part, our group that we have, that we help them, they help us. So it's not just all us.
Right.
A lot of people... A lot of us chip in, a lot of us work together. And that's kind of huge because you can't do what you do. You can't run the size trips you run and the amount of trips you won't run without help.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, small clique of guys that are willing to help out the guides and each other and not play favorites or anything like that. It's just you're all chipping in and helping out whoever needs help.
Well, we all... Between the 5 of us, and we've all got our own guide business, I mean, we share a lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing for me to call Steve or call Dave and say, hey, look, I haven't been on Delavan in a week. What should I be doing? They'll do the same with me. Hey, we know you're on Geneva. And that's how it should be. Nobody's against anybody, and everything seems to work out. We've just been truly blessed to be on the water that we're on and have the friends and the support staff around us. I mean, even coming into your bait store, even at the launch, I'll have people come up to me, and I have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
And they say hi, and they're the nicest people ever.
Sure.
But, and you're just like, okay. What do you say to that? I mean, it's cool that you recognize me. But to be honest, well, me, I don't like the attention.
Right.
I'm more a hide in the corner kind of guy. Just let me get out in the boat. But I mean, it is cool. Get a lot of that off of Facebook too.
Sure.
A lot of guys will ask us different stuff, and I try to answer them. I just got a message off Lake Links yesterday. Guy had asked me, "Hey, I'm not doing any good on Geneva for muskies right now. What would you tell me to help me out?" I really want to say right now, if you decide you're going to troll, and stick with it. Keep them lures clean. Really put 6-8 hours behind you. If you're going to throw your heart out.
Just got to cover some ground and keep moving.
Yeah, nothing with the muskies the last few days is coming easy. Just stick with it. It's going to be a grind. I mean, Sunday afternoon I took off. The last day I took off was a while ago. I think back in June when I went down to see my dad in Tennessee.
Wow.
But I took off Sunday, and me and my neighbor, you met Todd, the butcher. Yeah. We went, and he says, it was wild. He said, I knew you were beat because you'd make 30 casts. He's like, you'd stop, you'd pour a cup of coffee. He says, then you'd sit there and you'd stare at the suckers and you'd check them. And he says, then you'd make 30 casts and you'd sit down for a minute. He's like, you never play with your electronics.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're looking at the locator. He says, then you do the same thing. You check the suckers. He's like, it was funny.
You just wanted to go out and relax.
Right.
And, you're like, oh, man, I've been doing this. Dude, I just want to sit here and enjoy my coffee.
Yeah, the last couple of days I took off, though. I know I didn't take off. I do work part-time still. So I worked my regular job today. I worked it yesterday. I'm working it tomorrow. Friday, we're back at it. The only good thing is I had a few days off. Now I'm ready to be back in the boat. It's like a love-hate. You're in the boat so much. After 4 or 5 months being in it every day, you're like, oh my God, I don't want to be in this boat.
Oh, yeah.
Then now that I've been out of it for a few days, it's like, God, I'm ready to get back in the boat. Sure. I can't wait.
Just needed a break for a couple days.
It's like in spring, we come out here, we have 100 bass days.
Yeah.
When they're getting in that pre-spawn pattern, we're here, Geneva, Beulah, the bass fishing's phenomenal. The first couple of days, you're just so pumped up. You have a 100 bass day, 15, 20 days in a row. The last thing I want to do is bass fish. Then you get me away from it for a couple days, and it's all I want to do.
Sure.
Like right now, Saturday, I have smallmouth for my middle of the day. I have walleyes for my evening, and then Sunday morning, I have largemouth. Oh, wow, okay. Now we get to do some different stuff. That I like. It's when we do the
kind of switch it up a little bit. If you're just going after the same thing day in, day out, you're going to get burned out, and it's not going to be enjoyable.
Well, yeah, and I know here in another 2 weeks, because I've been kind of pushing my muskie trips out, I know there's going to come a day where they're going to cash in.
Sure.
Or it's going to be one after another. And with muskies, our problem is that I get excited, and I mean, I really get excited. Last time me and Jarvis were out, night before I didn't sleep, I was out with Mike Youngman, that lives over in Abbey Springs over there, hires me a few times a year. I was out with him Saturday morning. Man, was I pumped up.
Nice.
I had muskie fished in a few days. I got a guy in my boat that is a beast at this.
Sweet.
You're just so geeked. I don't think there's another fish out there that gets me as pumped up as they do.
Yeah.
I feel like a kid that hasn't fished in months, because every time we do muskies, I promise you I'm not sleeping that good that night. Especially now with our water changing and our temperatures changing. And
sure.
I know them fish are starting to get ready. It's just a matter before I have that 3-fish day again,
Oh, yeah.
I know it's coming. I've had them. Last year, we did 26 muskie trips. We were on a muskie and a half a trip average.
That's pretty good.
This year, I'm not on that. Let's should say that. This fall, I'm not on that yet. But I do think it's kind of, I jumped the gun a little bit.
It's coming. It's still just a touch early, but guys are getting the itch, too. They're coming in, getting some musky baits, getting musky suckers, going out on Geneva, Delavan, and running the big baits right now, so.
See, and I'm not running that big of baits yet.
No.
Oh, boy. I should have watched what I said here. Let's put it this way. I'm not running the biggest presentations I could.
Okay.
I don't think it's time yet. I have not hit anything, chase, follow, anything huge. You saw the other night where I posted pictures where we were trolling muskies. We went pike. We had 4 or 6 pike in an hour. We had 2 walleyes.
Sure.
I posted both of them, and I said, I don't know what these walleyes were thinking. So I came past them at 2.7 miles an hour.
Oh, man, you were cooking.
Right. I came past them at 2.7 miles an hour. I got 100-pound high seas braid. I got 65-pound soft steel leader, and we nailed 2 walleyes on perch-colored super shads.
Nice.
Okay, for one, walleyes don't hit lures like that on this lake. Walleyes do not hit 65-pound fluorocarbon leaders. Walleyes do not hit things coming past them this fast. Again, goes back to that where sometimes I really realize I'm dumber than I thought I was.
Yeah.
You know, we start talking walleyes, we start running smaller baits. We're running at 1.7, 1.9. A little bit later in the year, I'm just running a little bit slower.
Sure.
You know, look at when we do all the walleyes out here in June and July on Delavan. I'm running that boat 1.2, 1.4.
Right.
It made absolutely no sense, but I nailed 2 just beautiful walleyes out of Geneva. Yeah. They didn't bend a musky rod at all, but
sure,
if they wouldn't have been on a planer board, we'd have probably dragged them for an hour.
Yeah. Nice little bonus, though.
My customer wasn't complaining. We were both, and he says, "How many years you been doing this?" And I told him, and he says, "You ever seen this?" Nope. You know, I had no idea that was going to happen. And I don't target muskies on Delavan because there's not enough in that lake. There's some in it, but there's not enough in that lake for me to justify what I charge to the odds that I'm going to hit one. And I know some guys are pretty into it, you know, and they got their certain spots, and I've seen a few. Her and I lost one of the biggest muskies I've seen in southeast Wisconsin.
Yeah, I remember you telling me.
Yeah, I seen it roll behind a boat, you know, and we were just fishing pike, so we were 12-pound XT going down to a 17-pound Seaguar leader, fishing pike over the side of the boat. I seen this fish roll behind the boat, and I'm like, oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
That was, you know, I got excited. That's one thing you don't want. You don't want your guide getting excited.
Right.
You know, so I'm standing there, my heart's going 300 miles an hour, and then it got off on us, broke off on our leader.
Sure.
And I was like, wow. She's like, that had to be the biggest fish I've ever seen. And I was thinking in my head, that's the biggest muskie I've seen in southeast Wisconsin ever, I think.
Yeah. I tell you, out there bow fishing at times, trolling around at night with the lights on the boat. And man, I've seen some monster muskies out there, 40-inch plus muskies. And they're
this
just
was all a 40.
huge.
I have a hard time because the water magnifies them, plus my ADD magnifies them, plus my heart rate, plus how many thermoses of coffee I've drank that morning.
Oh, yeah.
This fish was all a 50. I don't know that it was much bigger than that. But again, you put an 18-inch walleye in my boat, I can tell you it's 18 inches.
Sure.
Put a 19-incher, and I'll tell you it's over 18. I know that. Put a 3-pound largemouth, I can tell you that without putting it on a scale. 4-pound, I can tell you that. When you start getting into these 45, 50-inch fish, I get excited. I can't, until I can throw it on a tape. Yeah, I know it's bigger than 45. No, I don't know if it's 52 or if it's 53. Because I get excited too, especially, you know, the water magnifies everything. And like I said, I get excited easy.
Oh, definitely. I think we all do, you know,
right.
Especially with a fish that size.
Oh.
You know, once in a lifetime fish.
Last year, this year we broke 50 on Geneva. Last year, our biggest was 49 3/4. And I hooked her. The customer didn't. Well, I had 2 customers at boat, one in the front, one in the back. About 2 hours in, the guy in the back was tired. Hey, we'll do this. I'll cast for an hour. He'll cast for, you know, so we got 2 guys constantly casting. I was like, you guys don't need to beat each other up. Just throwing a bucktail over in Buttons Bay. When she came out of the water with the bucktail in her mouth and she got eye level with me, I think my heart cranked for probably 20. Even after we had her in the boat, in the net, we had her released. We were ready to start fishing again. I was still shaking.
That's a giant fish.
She came out of the water and she was almost eye level with me. And I was like, wow. I mean, I've never had that happen. And I don't know how to explain it, but I bet you 20 minutes later, I was still shaking.
Sure.
I had one, again, on the Super Shad, that perch-colored Super Shad we use all the time that Billy paints for us.
Yeah.
I had one over there by Bigfoot. See, last year or the year before. Hits top of the water. Remember how your dad taught you to pop a Rapala?
Mm-hmm.
Sit for a second, twitch it, let it come back up, let it sit for a second. Second twitch, she came up from under it, came out of the water, and went down with it.
Oh, wow.
I jerked it away from her. I never felt her. You know, and I could just hear my dad in my head. Son, you know better. You always wait until you feel the fish.
You got to let it sit there until you feel some weight.
How many times has your dad told you that? You know, I mean, it's like throwing a floating Rapala and
it's tough. It's tough to do that
because you're pumped.
Yeah,
you're 500 miles an hour. I threw it back over, and she came out from underneath with it. And you know exactly what I did. As soon as she came up, head out of the water, I rolled her in the air and lost her again.
Yeah,
but that's just part of it. And then, Spence told me, he's like, when you're not excited like that anymore, he's like, find something else to do.
Sure.
But even now, I might be tired, might not want to be in a boat. We start throwing musky lures Saturday morning. I guarantee you my whole everything just changed. I want to be nowhere else but in this Lund.
Sure.
So.
Nice.
But I think we should not go too terribly far with this.
Sure. We can call it good.
What should we talk about next week?
Talk about some products.
We can do
Got
that.
some new products coming into the shop. We do have some St. Croix ice rods right now. Got some soft steel coming in from Okuma.
I've been very impressed with that. A lot of guys, since we've been throwing these EVXs, these musky rods that Okuma sent me, Mark Rogers, Mike Bennett, and them sent them to me a couple years ago. For the price point, to be a 6,000 strand count carbon rod on a 24-ton press with this $110 price point, and it's collapsible.
Yeah.
So she'll fit in your rod. 8'6", I think, drops down to 7 feet, so it fits in your rod locker.
Yeah, they're pretty nice.
Yeah, we should maybe talk about that. We'll talk about the new braid I'm running, see what you think. I'll bring it up here. Let's see what you think.
Yeah, definitely.
Actually, we'll go across the street and throw it a couple times. With this high seas braid, what Chaos Tackle showed me was how tightly it's woven, so it doesn't hold water. The one thing I've noticed, it doesn't hold water, but your hands are soaked. Because it throws it on you.
Sure.
But your reel's not freezing up,
Yeah, that's pretty nice, though.
It's actually, people have had a really hard time tangling it up on me, too.
Well,
so I've been
it's
pretty
not a bad
impressed
thing.
with it. But yeah, some good things to talk about next week. We should start talking about crappies here pretty soon, too.
Pretty soon, they're going to start moving in.
Yeah, Delavan walleyes will start coming up shallow for us here, too.
Yeah.
I think we just get past this weekend.
Sure.
But anyways, Brad, it was good seeing you, bud.
Yeah, thanks, Doug.
Thanks for having me over.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be trying to keep up with the podcast here and post it on Facebook pages, YouTube, try to get it put on one of the podcast sites, Podbeam. For now, we're going to probably just do Facebook and YouTube on our YouTube channels just so you guys can listen. And once we get this up, we'll post it all over Facebook and everything. And hopefully you guys enjoy our little idea we have going on with the podcast and just talking about fishing. Talk about Delavan a lot, Geneva, some of the other surrounding lakes. Ice fishing is coming soon. We'll be talking about panfish and walleyes through the ice and just go from there.
And we're definitely open to suggestions.
Yes, definitely.
So everybody knows how to email us, how to Facebook us. You can definitely Facebook me for fishing information. You can definitely Facebook me.
Doug is very knowledgeable when it comes to fishing. So
I wouldn't say that. I think I read a book the other night. Just happened to be a good one. It's going to be through this.
Alrighty, Doug. We'll see you next time.
All right, bud. Thanks.